Welcome back to the Weekend Report. Catholics in Africa continue to join those around the world who are praying for the recovery of Pope Francis. He remains in a Rome hospital after battling double pneumonia for 3 weeks now. The Vatican has given daily updates on his health. On Thursday, they played an audio message in St. Peter's Square in which the Pope thanked all those who are praying for him. Newzroom Afrika's Mnisi reports.
The poor health of Pope Francis has provided Catholics with an opportunity to reflect on his papacy in Africa and around the world. He's being praised for his compassion during a visit to the continent.
People have experienced that Pope Francis is someone who is very close to everyone, I think. And the type of message that, even to my surprise, I would say, sometimes things that I am not expecting happens. I remember some years ago, we have a body called the Eswatini Council of Catholic Women. And the chairperson came to me during an event and says, Bishop, Pope Francis is asking us to care for refugees. So we would like to start visiting the Malinsa Refugee Reception Center every year. And in fact, this has become a tradition in our diocese. And we have been always very, very close to the reality of refugees. This year in a special way, last year, December, January, with the influx of people coming from Mozambique.
Pope Francis was born in Argentina to Italian immigrants Mario and Regina Bergoglio. He emphasized the need to care for the poor as well as migrants. This also found expression in his prayer for victims and survivors of the Usindiso building fire in Johannesburg in 2023, which left over 70 people dead, most of them migrants. He also prayed for Eswatini, which was gripped by anti-government protests in 2021.
In 2021, you might remember, it was a moment of violence for the first time in the history of this country. And the following Sunday, during the Angelus, the prayer that Pope Francis does at St. Peter's, at the end of the prayer, he called to pray for Eswatini. It was probably the first time in our history that the Pope would mention our country in this way.
In April last year, the pontiff appointed Polish Monsignor Henryk Jagodziński as the papal ambassador to Southern Africa.
For Holy Father Pope Francis, Africa is continent of hope. It is continent which vibrant faith with a big number of vacation. And where the faith is very important. And when you are regarding other continents, unfortunately, the secularists make a big progress. And in Africa, this is not the case.
Figures released by the Vatican in October last year show that the Catholic Church saw a rise in members in all continents except Europe. Africa has over 272 million Catholics, which constitutes almost 20% of all members.
The expectation is that it's going to grow even higher than that, for many reasons. And one of them is that I think with the dawn of Vatican II, the incorporation of what we call the inculturation, where African drums and music and dancing and so on became part and parcel of what we call Catholic worship. That's the first thing. The other thing also is that Catholic Church is mostly it's got a lot of rituals which will resonate a lot with Africans. For example, a ritual, a prayer for harvesting is there. A prayer for rain is there. So there's a lot of this.
Since becoming Pope in March 2013, the pontiff has visited a number of conflict-hit countries. Pope Francis visited an active war zone in 2015 in the Central African Republic. The Muslim Seleka and Christian anti-Balaka militia groups were fighting. He reportedly brought together the highest-ranking Muslim cleric and his Christian counterpart to drive a message of peace. The Pope in 2019 visited South Sudan, where he kissed the feet of previously warring leaders. He again visited South Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2023, calling for peace and an end of the exploitation of African minerals.
Giù le mani dell'Africa, basta soffocare l'Africa. L'Africa non è una miniera da sfruttare o un suolo da saccheggiare. L'Africa sia protagonista del suo destino.
And its intentionality is got to do also with one thing. What is the church supposed to be? Is it supposed to be a structure, or is it supposed to be about the living experiences of the people? And if you say it is about the living experiences of the people, it therefore says you need to have a different pastoral approach, because you cannot have a Western approach to an African, and to try and solve an African problem. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. So his approach is that, and going to these places, he thinks that he raised the issue of land. For example, when he was in Nairobi, he raised the issue of land. He raised the issue of access to space to be able to build and have a home, but also access to labor. In other words, unemployment and so on, that people must get access to it, which is in a way an influence from liberation theology. But also one of the things that he preached in South Sudan, it was around the issue of peace and reconciliation and the end to tribalism.
Pope Francis also stood with marginalized groups in Africa.
You see who are the people who are experiencing a lot of issues around marginalization, who bear the brunt of the effects of the war and so on. Those are the people. Women are the ones that actually become destitute compared to the men. But also what is very interesting is that he also said that, look, the church, the theologians in Africa help us to understand Africa better and stop writing from the Western lens, but start writing from an African lens.
The Pope is revered for preaching the gospel at grassroots level and meeting people where they are, something that resonates with Catholics in Africa. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Mnisi.